I've been the night IT guy at St. Marin's Regional Medical Center for 6 years. It's a thankless job, resetting passwords, unjamming printers at 3 a.m., making sure the network doesn't collapse during shift change. But it pays decent and the hours let me avoid most human interaction, which suits me fine. My office is in the basement, tucked between the server room and a storage closet full of broken wheelchairs. The fluorescent lights down here have a particular hum that I've grown so accustomed to, silence actually feels louder. I've got 3 monitors on my desk, one for tickets, one for email, and one that cycles through the hospital's 164 security cameras on a rotating feed. That third monitor is what started all of this. It was a Tuesday in November. Quiet night. Census was low, maybe 60 patients across 4 floors. I was halfway through a bag of gas station peanuts when camera 47 caught my eye. It covers the hallway outside the old pediatric ward on the 3rd floor, a section that's been closed for renovation since August. No patients, no staff, no reason for anyone to be up there. But someone was standing in the hallway. I leaned forward and squinted. The camera resolution isn't great, especially on the older units, but I could make out a figure in a hospital gown, standing perfectly still in the middle of the corridor. Facing the camera. I pulled up the camera on full screen. The figure was a woman. Older, maybe 60s. Gray hair hanging loose around her shoulders. She wasn't moving at all, not swaying, not shifting her weight, nothing. Just standing there like someone had paused her mid-step and forgotten to press play. I picked up the phone and called the nursing station on the 3rd floor. Maria answered. "Hey, it's Devin in IT. I'm seeing someone on camera 47, closed PED's hallway. Can you send someone to check? That hallway's locked, Devin. Nobody can get in there without a badge." "Well, someone's in there. I'm looking at her right now." Maria sighed. "I'll send Carlos." I watched the camera while I waited. The woman didn't move. Not once. I started timing it on my phone, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5. Carlos appeared at the end of the hallway, flashlight in hand. He walked right past the woman. Right through where she was standing. She wasn't there. But she was on my screen. Carlos looked around, tried a few doors, then radioed Maria. Hallways empty. All doors still locked. I stared at the monitor. The woman was still there. Carlos was walking back toward the camera, and she was standing 6 feet to his left, and he didn't see her. On camera, she turned her head to watch him leave. That was the first night. I filed it as a camera glitch. Wrote it up in the maintenance log, scheduled the camera for replacement. Tried not to think about how a glitch had turned its head. The second night, it wasn't just camera 47. I was doing my rounds. I walked the server room every 2 hours to check temps and make sure nothing's caught fire, when I got back to my desk and noticed camera 12 had something wrong. Camera 12 covers the main lobby, which at 2 a.m. should be empty except for the security guard at the front desk. There were 7 people in the lobby. They were all in hospital gowns. All standing still. All facing different directions, like they'd been scattered there randomly. The security guard, Pete, was at his desk reading a magazine, completely unaware. I called Pete. "Hey, you see anyone in the lobby?" "Nope. Dead quiet tonight. Look around for me." I watched him stand up, do a slow 360, and sit back down. "Nothing, man. You okay down there?" On my screen, one of the figures was standing directly behind Pete's chair. I started documenting everything. Screenshots, timestamps, camera numbers. Over the next week, the figures appeared on more and more cameras. Always in hospital gowns. Always standing still, at first. Then I noticed they were moving between frames. I'd see one on camera 22 at 1:15 a.m., and by 1:30 she'd be on camera 24, 2 hallways over. They were walking through the hospital. And nobody could see them but the cameras. I went to my supervisor, Dale, with a folder full of screenshots. He flipped through them with the expression of a man trying to figure out how to make this not his problem. Looks like image artifacts. These cameras are 15 years old. Artifacts don't walk between cameras, Dale. I'll put in a request for new units. Anything else? I wanted to scream. But I just took my folder and went back to the basement. By the end of the second week, I'd catalogued 31 distinct figures. I could tell them apart now: the old woman from the first night, a man with a bandaged head, a young girl who couldn't have been more than 8, a heavy-set guy who always appeared near the cafeteria. I started thinking of them as patients, because that's what they looked like. Hospital gowns, wristbands, bare feet. I ran their images through the patient database. I don't have official access, but I've been in IT long enough to know workarounds. It took me 3 nights, but I matched 7 of them to patient photos. All 7 were dead. Not recently dead. Dead months ago. Some over a year. They'd all died at St. Mary's, different floors, different causes, different times. The only thing they had in common was that they'd died during the night shift. That discovery changed something. Not just in my understanding, in their behavior. The night after I identified them, they started looking at the cameras differently. Before, they'd just stand or walk, oblivious. Now they were aware. They'd stop, turn toward the camera, and stare. Not at the hallway. At the lens. At me. I'd be cycling through feeds and suddenly every third camera had a figure standing inches from the lens, face filling the frame, mouth slightly open, eyes looking directly into mine. I stopped sleeping during the day. I couldn't close my eyes without seeing those faces. Gray, slightly translucent, like the camera was picking up something that existed at a different frequency than living people. Then came the night they appeared in the basement. Camera 91 covers the hallway outside my office. I glanced at it during a routine check and my blood went cold. There were 12 of them. Standing in a line outside my door. All facing my door. I could hear the hallway. Through the actual walls of my actual office, I could hear nothing. No footsteps, no breathing, no rustling of gowns. I looked at the camera. 12 figures. I looked at my door, the gap underneath showed only the same flickering fluorescent light as always. But on screen, they were right there. One of them raised a hand and knocked on the door. I heard it. One knock. Real, physical, actual sound against the metal door. I watched on camera as the figure's fist connected with the door, and I heard the knock in the same instant. They could interact with the physical world. They just couldn't be seen in it. I didn't open the door. I sat in my chair with my pepper spray in one hand and my phone in the other, watching the camera until 6 a.m. when the day shift started. One by one, the figures dispersed. By the time the first morning nurse walked past my office, the hallway was empty on every frequency. I called in sick the next 3 nights. Sat in my apartment with every light on, trying to convince myself I was having a breakdown. But I'd taken screenshots. Hundreds of them. The figures were real, at least, real enough for the cameras to see. On the 4th night, my phone rang. It was the hospital's night nursing supervisor. Devon, we have a problem. The whole camera system is down and we need it back up. Can you come in? I almost said no. Almost. But then she said something that made my decision for me. Also, a patient in 4B keeps saying someone is standing in his room. An old woman. But there's nobody there. The patients could see them now too. I drove to the hospital in 20 minutes. The parking lot felt wrong, too quiet, too dark, like the streetlights were running at half power. I badged in through the back entrance and went straight to my office. The servers were fine. The network was fine. The cameras were technically operational, they were recording and storing footage. But every single monitor on the security desk was showing the same image, a hospital hallway, packed wall to wall with figures in gowns, all facing the camera. It wasn't one hallway. I checked the feeds individually. Every camera in the hospital was showing the same thing. Every hallway, every room, every stairwell, full of them. Hundreds. Maybe thousands. Standing shoulder to shoulder, faces gray and blank, all looking directly at whatever camera covered their location. I pulled up the patient room cameras, the ones that are technically only activated during code blues. Every room with a living patient had figures standing around the bed. Surrounding it. Looking down at the patient. I called the nursing supervisor back. How many patients are reporting seeing people in their rooms? It's, Devon, it's all of them. Every patient on every floor. They're all calling. Some of them are screaming. On camera 4B, I could see the patient, an elderly man, post-hip replacement, sitting up in bed, pressing himself against the headboard, mouth open in a scream I could almost hear through 2 floors of concrete. Around his bed stood 6 figures, leaning in close. I did the only thing I could think of. I shut down the camera system entirely. Pulled the plug on every server that fed the security network. The monitors went dark. My phone rang immediately. The nursing supervisor again.